All right, guys, in this video, we're going to be talking about making a deal with your influencer, potential influencer. There's two types of scenarios you will run into when you start messaging people asking them to promote your product. They're going to either have a set rate or they don't have a set rate. The people who have set rates, this is their business, right? They say, hey, it's $50 per post. And they might have some expectations of what you could see out of that too, right? Because you set that rate based on some kind of justification. Well, hopefully you would expect that they know that they can make their person more than $50 in sales if they charge $50. I would hope. That's where a lot of the people I've seen are like that, because this is their business, and obviously it's got to be a mutual beneficial scenario for both people. So they don't have a set rate. That's going to be the people that you find who are on the lower end of things. They're just getting started. They don't know exactly what's going on. Maybe it's going to be their first post. I've had a couple people promote products of ours who did it for the first time, and both get good results. You might catch somebody who's just getting started, who has got a rabid fan base, and the first time they put products out, it's going to flood you with sales. It's a possibility. Or it could be a bust. But the understanding is that that happens on everything that you do. If you run a Facebook ad, it's not guaranteed you to make money. I still run this. I don't know how many times I've put up an ad, thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of times. I still have ads that go completely bust. So it's part of business, and it's part of doing this as a strategy. And that's why I want you to come up with repeatable scenarios that you can go into and have expectations, so that you prevent as much loss as possible and have the highest gain, highest ROI as possible too. Is what we're going to show you here might help you out in that scenario. So the most important thing, guys, for you to know is how much money can you make back. And there's two things you need to pay attention: the cost of your product and the cost of the post, right? Because every time you make a sale, you're going to be potentially taking some of that profit to pay back some of the posts. Depending on what you're selling, it could take a lot of items to sell, or it could take a little bit, and it depends on the post as well, or the cost of the post. So the real question is how many people could potentially get to your product and your site for you to sell to, right? So an influencer, like I said, could bring a flood of sales if done right, but it also could be a bust. So the real thing that we need to do is set a realistic expectation using a formula that I came up with over time, to kind of explain, to your team, to yourself, and possibly to the influencer if you want to use that, and say, hey, this is what I think the post should cost. This is what I'm willing to pay based off of said formula, right? So let's talk about it. So this is going to be like for your average influencer. Now, there's some people that are going to know how to get a reaction out of their crowd. Like personally, if I post something on my Facebook page that's about Facebook ads or selling t-shirts or doing influencer marketing, I know I'm going to get a bigger reaction out of my audience than if I post about something random. Like I'm a big Marvel fan. If I post something about Marvel, I'm going to get a little reaction because there's a little bit of my friends who are that same passion as me. But if I post about influencers or making money online, then I'm going to get a big reaction because most of my followers and most of my friends are in the same business. So there's going to be influencers that know how to get better rates here. There's going to be influencers that don't know how to get it. This is just an average kind of baseline, rough estimation on what to kind of expect when going into this. So you take the influencers following and divide it by 10. So for example, if they have 400,000 people, they divide it by 10, that's 40,000. That's going to be the potential number of people who see that post over a period of time on the average post, right? Again, you could have some kind of amazing post that just sparks and everybody sees it and they get a huge amount of engagement. But we're talking about the average post. Then take that number and divide that by 10. So 40,000 divided by 10 is 4,000. So this is going to be the people who take a rough estimation of the people who would take an action of some kind on your influencer's post, right? And I see this repeated on the person who I follow, The Rock, and the person who I saw this on was The Rock. He's got close to 100 million followers on Instagram, and almost every single one of his posts ends up having roughly 1 million likes. Higher, lower, around there is going to be, if I had to say middle of the road, it's right around 1 million. So 100 million divided by 10, 10 million divided by 10 is that 1 million. So he gets about 1 million likes every single post, which is crazy. That's a lot of likes. And so that's kind of where I started noticing the pattern, and it's fit along that, roughly along that line. So Of that 4,000 people who have taken action on a single post, not every single one of those actions is going to be clicking on the influencer's buyers and clicking on the link to get to your site, right? That's really where you need to, the influencer's really going to have to work on the call to action during their posts. But then say 10% of the 4,000 do take that action, and now you have 400 people that hit your site, right? 400 people click the bio of the influencer, click the link to your site. Now you hit your site 400 people. What is your site's conversion rate? If it's 5%, and then 5% of 400 is 20 sales that can be made. You can see how 400,000 people sounds really great, but what does that boil down to? It boils down to 20 sales. That's really the important number, right? That's the of that post, how many sales can I get? Now it could be exponentially higher. If your product is just amazing and your influencer took this awesome photo and it's just out of this world and everybody wants to buy it because they want to look like your influencer, that's what you hope happens. But what we want to do is kind of have an understanding of what, can I break even at a minimum of this post, and do I have an upside? That's really where it's going to come down to doing this at a repeatable rate, because you don't want to just swing for the fences every time and just bury money into something without seeing the return on it. And that's why we came up with this formula. So take that 20 and multiply it by your profit per sale. So for just easy numbers, for example, 20 times $10, every time somebody buys somebody, I'm going to make $10. That's $200 in profit. Now that's the profit. So the sale might be a $20 item, but the profit is $10 per sale, $200 in profit. That's of the money that I, that I'm making in total and back from the post. I still have to pay the influencer. I might have already done it. So can I recover my costs? So this is again a complete estimate, but using this formula, does it make sense to pay somebody $200 for a post or this post? So your influencer says it's $200, and I say, hey, you have a 400,000 person audience. Here's the math for me roughly estimating how many people will buy from you. Could you do this for $100? That leaves me with $100 in profit on top line, and then the influencer still getting paid, and hopefully, if it's a success, you could do it over and over again to hit the remaining 400,000 people, right? Because if they posted at 8 a.m., they could post it at 6 p.m. in a different photo. A large percentage of people who saw it before will see it again. Maybe they take action this time, or new people, different people who are online at a different portion of the day will see it this time. You'll have a repeatable success. The goal of this for you and for the influencer should be, how many times can I just press buttons and let money come back, right? That's really the goal of this. Everybody, mutual beneficial goal, and then it's repeatable success until the product is no longer desired by the audience, and then you go on to the next product. You build, and then that's what we're talking about in the long-term relationship, is bringing in additional products and upsells and things like that. That could help make this long-term, or setting up a private link as well. So that's it for this video. Again, this is a rough estimation. I don't want you to focus too heavily on this, but I do want you to have some kind of an understanding of what it should cost you to post and what the potential is there. Again, if an influencer has a set rate, you need to negotiate a rate that makes sense using your rough estimations, using your data, using your product, using your site, because every site is different. This will likely take some trial and error. You could do a post that costs you $100 with this same scenario and not make a dime. You could also do this post in $100 and you could make $1,000 or even more. It all comes down to that product that you're selling and matching it to the right person and the right potential influencer. The influencer has a set rate. If they have a set rate, ask about their prior results promoting products, right? Because they should have an understanding of the success stories. If they're good at business, they'll have an understanding of their success stories. That rate will have come from prior success. And so, ask about it and see what's going on with it. And then look with these posts, see what people are saying. Look for the calls to action that were on there. Maybe offer some suggestions if you've been in the game for a little bit. Facebook, Instagram is great for doing this, but it's important that you have a link in your bio and they have a link in their bio, and they tag you in the post so that there's multiple streams of ways for people to get to you, because they can't just direct link to it in their profile, unfortunately. So it can be done. This is the goal of this. Is to sell products, obviously, in a repeatable fashion. And so don't be afraid to sell something at a little higher price for these people, the people that have set rates, because, if it does come down to only a handful of people buying it, it'd be great if, you had a $40, $50 margin and things like that, because that would require less of the audience and have the potential upside be higher for you if that product does go off. So that's the last part I wanted to add in there. So this is a really great way for you to drive traffic to your business. But now in the next video, what we're going to talk about is doing it long term, and making sure that we can repeat this in easy fashions, that's beneficial with not only one influencer at a time, but maybe multiple influencers at a time. Okay? Talk soon in the next video.